Hello, everybody. Welcome to KISS.
Keep it simple, sister.
Hi, Diana.
Hi, Samantha.
How are you?
Fabulous. How
This
are
is
you?
gonna be this is gonna be fun. This is
I know
gonna be a
this is
fun
gonna
session.
it's a good one. Yes.
Yes. So, welcome everybody. This is the KISS podcast. This is where Diana and I are sharing with you all the tips, tricks, techniques, and the products that have helped us navigate through life thus far. All the things we've picked up that just make it easier for us to get through day to day, to be more positive, happy, and healthy.
Yes.
That about sums it up, doesn't it?
Perfectly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, welcome aboard for this ride. This is going to be an interesting episode. So, hang on to your seats.
Yeah, we're gonna start with the flip side.
Mhm.
And if you haven't been with us before, that's how we like to give it a go. The flip side is when something happens that's kind of uncomfortable, or you might get it a little mad or upset or contrast or feel like it's kind of negative,
Mhm.
how to try and turn it around so that you can figure out what part of it made it not so bad, made it either that you learned something different.
Sorry, I'm bumping around. Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know that I'm a far either. Are we good? Okay.
I decided I'm gonna just make an adjustment in the middle of Diana's, like, speech, and nobody's gonna notice, right?
Yeah, no one noticed.
No,
Not
but it
at
was a
all.
bump. Sorry.
All right, well, I'm gonna start with my flip side, and usually we adjust ourselves before we get going, but we've been busy
Yeah.
talking about other stuff. But okay, so my flip side happened yesterday.
Mhm.
So my daughter started working at Texas Roadhouse, which Texas Roadhouse is one of my favorites because of the rolls. And if you don't know Texas Roadhouse, the rolls are delicious. They're warm and then they have like a butter that's delicious, whatever. So sometimes we like to get carry out from Texas Roadhouse when I'm in the mood for buttery rolls. So she is working as a server at Texas Roadhouse. And I had said to her yesterday, okay, dad and I will come for dinner tonight and we'll sit at your table and that'll be fun. And she was like, oh, okay. And then I went about my day, did my thing. And I told Wedge, change your clothes, take it, get out of your sweatpants and put on some real pants and let's go out to dinner. And he's like, oh, I thought you were just going to go pick it up. And I said, but I told Annie that we're gonna, eat there
Yeah, like sitting in our
because the
section.
rolls are better when you're there than when you bring them home. I mean, and I wanted to support her waitressing,
Yeah.
or serving and be, just a good client and give her a good tip and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So he was like, yeah, no. I'm just like, all right. So I put the order in. She had already gone to work. So I couldn't tell her that we weren't coming. I had told her that we were coming. And one of the things that I've learned as a parent is that if you say you're going to do something, you need to do it. Negative, positive, whatever, follow through. That's my character. That's what I do. If I tell somebody I'm going to do something, that's what I do. And unless something really off happens. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, whatever. So I put in the order, I get there, and the way the Texas Roadhouse is here is there's like a little hut kind of thing where you go to get your carry out stuff.
Mhm.
And so I debated with myself, do I just go in and eat dinner myself and then take him a carry out? Because that's what I thought about doing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, no, I'll just get it and I'll take it home and eat it with him or whatever." So I go to the little house to pick up the stuff, and
Mhm.
I said, "Hi, do you know Annie Sullivan? I'm her mom." And she's like, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Would you mind getting a message to her that we're not coming for dinner? I had to pick up because my husband's a pain in the butt and he doesn't wanna come to dinner." And so the girl was laughing at me and she said, "I can go in and get her." And I said, "I can go in and get her." And, I said, No, I just went through the whole training process and I know you gotta get a drink to the table in 2.7 seconds and you have to do I don't wanna interrupt the whole flow of anything, but when you see her, will you just let her know that I got the stuff and, I hope you have a great night." And off I went.
Mhm.
So when Annie got home, she's like, "Oh," I said, "And what's your name?" And her name was Brianna, Brittany, something, I don't know, something with a B. And I said, "'Cause I'll tell Annie that I talked to you." And
Mhm.
so when Annie got home, she's like, I said, I'm so sorry we didn't come in. And she's like, that's fine, mom. Don't worry about it. And I said, she wanted to come in and get you. And she said to me, you are the funniest person she's ever met. And that you made her whole day with the conversation that you had with her. And I thought, well, that's nice. That's really nice. Something that was annoying to me. Like I thought Annie would be disappointed. I was disappointed, whatever. But it made Brianna, whatever her name is, Brittany's day. And it
Yeah.
also made Annie's day because Brittany told her what a great mom she had. So that was kind of
Oh,
interesting. So that's my flip side. I mean, it's not
that's like bonus on bonus on bonus.
yeah, it wasn't a bad thing, but it was an annoying thing, and I coulda let it,
Mhm.
like, ruin my evening and come home and thrown the food at him and whatever, but I didn't let that happen, and it ended up being okay for everyone.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God, I love that. I was with a group of people the other night and we were talking about, are you that person who, like, when you run into somebody at the grocery store, you almost just want to leave your cart behind and duck and leave because you just don't want to talk to people. You don't, the small talk, the
I'm
whatever.
not that
You know,
person.
I
Have you
know.
met me?
I was like, I'm the person you run from. Hello.
Me too.
Oh my God. Our kids
Totally.
suffer the same fate with us. That's cool.
Well, the funny
Okay.
thing is I didn't even think I was being funny, like, sometimes I'm funny and I know I'm funny.
Uh-huh.
She came home and she said that your mom is so funny, and I was like, "Well, I didn't even realize how fun." I think I'm just naturally funny, and I don't even know it.
Effortlessly funny.
Yes, whatever. So, what's
Okay.
your flip side?
My flip side. So I had been debating going back and forth ad nauseum for a couple of weeks now because I love going up to Charleston. I go up to Charleston to record my other podcast, the one that's really metaphysical, woo woo kind of stuff. And I have a great time. I'm up there with some friends of mine who are such wonderful mentors and friends. And so we have a good time recording it. So it's all good vibes. It's 2 hours up and 2 hours back. And we record 3 hours of podcasting at a time, something Diana and I are not capable of doing for whatever reason. We just
We
can't.
try to do 2 in a row and can't make it happen.
Yeah. So it's just by fluke. It's the weirdest thing, but that's okay.
Yeah,
So it is a long day because it's 2 hours up, 2 hours back, 3 hours of recording.
yeah, that's a lot.
And very intense. Yeah. And it just so happened like we couldn't get it to work out otherwise. Once a week, I also participate in a meditation group with these guys. And once a month, so we do it every Sunday, and once a month, we do it in person. Everybody comes together, which is so much fun. And most of the people are from the area, but there's a couple of us that have to drive in, and I'm one of those people. And so I was going, okay, well, I'm going up there Saturday, and then I'm going to drive home, and then I'm going to go back up there Sunday for, to be there for like 2 hours and then drive back again. And I'm just kind of going, I should just get a hotel room. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to spend the money on a hotel room. But if I go up there, it'll be so nice. And so I'm going back and forth and back and forth. And, it just the pressure of it, that having to make a decision. I literally did not make the decision until the moment I said, I'm throwing everything in the car. So I have it. And then I can always change my mind otherwise. And I only got the hotel room like after we finished podcast recording. But here's the flip side is that, I'm like, if I'm going to be up here, then I'm going to reach out to someone in the group and I'm going to because I am like my brother described himself as a self-professed hotel whore, meaning he loves being in a hotel. Like if he rents a room, he wants to hang out in it. He just wants to enjoy the luxury of the bed, whatever, the
Uh-huh.
scenery, and so I'm kind of the same way where I can just sit there by myself, go pick up some food, bring it back, watch a show, whatever. And I was like, no, I'm going to connect with somebody that I don't really know in the group that well. So I connected with this woman she's younger than me. Her children are 15, mine are in their 20s, 30s. And So kind of like, what would she want to do? Hang out with me? But she was so excited. So she comes over to the hotel and they had this fabulous bar. The rooms look really shady, but like they sell you on the fact that this bar area, because not most hotels don't have like it was like a Wyndham. They don't have the really, like this was really cool. So I said, come on over, we'll grab some drinks and then we can sit around and talk about, some woo-woo stuff because she's into the woo-woo with me. And she's like focused on one area, but she's expanding her abilities and stuff. And so she's like, sure. She comes over and we decide, well, let's just we grabbed a couple of drinks each, brought them back up to the room, and we never stopped talking for 4 hours straight. So we suddenly realized it was 2 a.m. because
Oh my
and
god.
I knew I was tired, but it was just, we had so much fun just going back and forth and sharing ideas and all this kind of stuff. It was amazing. It was so much fun, and I got to know her so much better, and I'm so glad I did it. So it was like it was a total win. It made it all worth it. And yeah, and then everything worked out for the following day for me to
Of
hang out,
course it did.
and
Everything's
you said
always
it
working
would.
out for you.
Diana
Well,
said
and
it
I
would.
authorized the hotel early in the week, but you really were agonizing over it back and forth. And as it turned out, it was a really good thing. So that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. So I just well worth it.
Definitely. All
Thank you.
right. So let's now we're going to go to the positive path and just so you guys know, we bounce ideas back and forth and we're not sure what we're going to talk about and I think you've heard us say a couple times, well this is not exactly what we thought we were going to talk about and then it turns into something else. But I had the idea today because this has helped me so much in my life. Um, so, one of the early on questions that I asked Samantha is she's a medium. So, she can explain to you what mediums do. But in my mind, she speaks to people who have passed over, who have passed away and are on the other side, whatever. I didn't know what the other side was like. I didn't, so a lot of my questions were what happens after you die? Like in your experience, what do you know about after people die? What happens?
Mhm.
And so I'm going to re ask the questions that I've asked before um, because I think it just seriously made a huge difference in how I look at day to day life, knowing that this is not the end. And I don't have to miss all my people who have passed over because this is not the end. And that's huge. It's
Mhm.
just huge information.
And there's a lot of people are going, wait, this isn't the end. I got I got to keep going.
Well, and the
There's
thing is,
mixed
I think with
feelings.
religion and everything, there's heaven, there's hell, there's purgatory, there's this, there's that. Like religion kind of makes a story in your mind. But for me, I wasn't really sure whether to believe that story or not because some of the dogma and the things I grew up with Catholic parents. And so
Mhm.
some of Catholicism didn't sorry, some of Catholicism didn't really resonate with me because there's so much hypocrisy. So I didn't know what to believe.
Yeah.
And that put some pressure on my brain. And it helped, and it made me make different decisions about how I was spending my life. Now my outlook is completely different after speaking to you and getting your take on it and also your experience through your mediumship.
Mhm.
So, I guess the first question is, what does a medium do?
Okay, good question. Um, and so whenever, this is one of those things that whenever, I don't know if you all have experienced this, but there's like Facebook groups generally about your neighborhood, your area. Um, and people will throw, they're like ask and answer kind of groups and stuff.
Yeah.
And oftentimes somebody will put in there, hey, does anyone know a good medium? And there's always the person who says, well, I'm a little short, but blah, 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 har, har, har. Yeah, Um, so I've often not really enjoyed the expression medium, but that's the terminology that most people know. Like normally they'd know psychic medium, and I
Mhm.
prefer intuitive.
Okay.
Channeler.
Okay.
Um,
Well, and
but
I'm glad
medium is
that
what
you
it.
made that association because really, yeah, the kind of the vernacular, the vocabulary that people are aware of, especially from seeing people on TV and Teresa Caputo and what's that guy's name? Whatever.
Travis.
The young guy. Yeah. That's their experience with it, but it's not really accurate. I mean, with what I've seen and talked to you about, that's not the experience that you have or you offer or how it works with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, so, like, when you say, like, psychic medium, and it sounds like, okay, this is somebody who's well trained. I mean, like, yes, you should be a professional if you're charging and you're doing all this stuff and everything, but the reason why I say intuitive and I use the word channeler, which I don't know if I'm necessarily using those together. This is the first time I've said intuitive channeler because of course, you're okay. So when people talk about psychic, I prefer intuitive because we all have this ability. We are all intuitive. We all get, those nudges, those whatevers, and we all have those glimpses of, I think I saw my mother at the foot of my bed, or I was thinking about someone the other day and then they called, like we all have these things occurring. So when you say like psychic, that makes it sound like it's something you have to train and be up leveled for. Well, with medium, in mediumship, it's a description of somebody who's been trained, who's aware, who's, whatever. But again, it makes it sound like it's something that is up and separate from everyone. And it's not. Again, we all have this ability. We all have, it's just like you can touch, taste, see, hear, feel, whatever. It's simply it's an expansion of your sensory perceptions. So if you are, I know this is more than what you were thinking. Is more than what I thought I was going to say. Um, but when I guess that's why, when I think of channeling, I am channeling, I am connecting to these people, and we all channel. Like when you get in the zone and maybe you're writing a paper, or maybe you are creating something, or, working with a client, and you just feel like you're really hitting on everything with them.
You're
You're
on it.
channeling.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is just flowing. This is easy. This is how,
Mhm.
just no effort,
Yeah.
effortless.
And that's exactly, to me, that's my perception of all of this stuff. And I always try to make people understand that this is not something that sets me apart and makes me special. It's just something that was my focus. So I've enhanced upon, whereas they've enhanced upon learning how to work with teeth, or,
Yeah.
or chiropractic or something, whatever. So anyway, mediumship, is the act of connecting with those who've crossed over. So it is learning how to build that bridge of communication. Um, and I often say that, like I found that it was very helpful. I mean, some people do it just naturally. For me, I found it helpful. I started with tarot cards and building a library of imagery with my guides, with those on the other side, with my spirit guides. And so I built this gallery of images that would convey certain things to me, that would prompt me to say things. And then that, along with my empathic abilities of feeling feelings, it's like that started to that worked on my what do I describe this as? This like third eye, this how I perceive, how I see things. It started filling that in and making that connection, that I feel that I can feel this connection with something that is there. All right.
Yeah.
So that is kind of how I started this stuff. Um, I could feel, I could see, I could sense. And so I'm kind of jumping into how I do this.
No,
But
I like that because that was gonna be one of my questions. So perfect.
okay. So I kept trying to reach up here where I perceive like what's going on in someone's world. The field of probabilities is kind of what I call it. Um, and I could never connect with someone up there. And yeah, it was just the weirdest thing. And I'm not sure when the like key fit in the lock, but it was one day I had this realization, oh, they're right next to me. Like they're on the same they're on the same plane of existence, just in a different dimension of reality. And so when I reached across and created this kind of envelope of space, kind of like how I do up here, but created it over here, all of a sudden they could come in and fill in. Now, I think some people reach up this way, but for me, this was my connection was right beside me. And it's funny because, like, if somebody says, "Well, I want to connect with my guide," who are my guides? What's this whole guide thing? They appear kind of behind me, so like to the right and behind a little bit. Whereas the field of probabilities of any question that people are asking me about intuitive work is up here to the right, kind of above. And then people that I'm connecting to that have crossed over, they're to the right, to the side of me. No one's ever to the left. Like it's just, it's all over here happening, but it's in
That's
different
interesting.
places. Yeah, it's kind of a strange thing.
It
Uh,
I mean, you probably know other intuitives. Do they feel the same way? Like, is it always to the right, or does everybody kind of have a different realm of where they hear it, where they see it, how they feel it?
I think it's all different from, it used to be, I've been doing this for over 35 plus years. And when I started, it was like there was this formula. This is the way you're supposed to do it. This is the way, if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to be considered a professional, this is how you do this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And, we talk about the veil thinning, or you could talk about the evolution of humans through the ascension process. There's several ways you can talk about it. Whatever the deal is, humans are becoming more aware of that unseen world around us. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so there are people who they just write things down and they start to sense and feel. There's people who could put their hands on people just to give them massages and stuff. And all of a sudden they're picking up on all of these things going on. So I'm not sure if they're seeing it fully. For me, I see it like here as opposed to a full image here, which would be interesting if I could. Like, I wonder how much that would change things. Um, but so I'm
Got a
imagining.
lot going on. Don't change your thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of. It's interesting because when I first started doing my intuitive work, and I was connecting in, whether I was going towards mediumship or whatever, I'd want to connect into my client first. So I would sit there and I would see their name. Like, so I'd focus in on their name, and that was like me dialing into their energy. And I started to see their name being written out. And so for some reason I chose, since I live near the beach and I grew up around sand, I saw their name being written in wet sand.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, and so I'm just thinking about this because I was talking about seeing it fully here.
Yeah.
Well, that I would see it with both sides, like of my head. Like when I was seeing their name being written in the sand, I was seeing it. It's good you ask these questions because it's important for me to understand how I've developed this and where it's coming from so I can teach others. But
Uh-huh.
so I would see it full in front of me. Um, and what was interesting is I thought I was just connecting. And then all of a sudden I thought, well, I'm seeing specific things. Like sometimes they'd do block letters and sometimes they would do swirly. So I was like, okay, well, what does that swirly make me think of? Very creative. Okay. So I would just say, they're showing me this, which makes me feel like you're very creative. And the person would be like, yeah, I am, Whereas the block ones were like they're more stubborn. Like sometimes the blocks would have the letters leaning back a little bit, sometimes leaning forward, like more proactive or more reluctant. And then it got into like I'd see the first name big and then the last name would be small. And it would make me just want to say, you know, you're you're very connected to your first name, but I'm seeing your last name small and it makes me feel like you're not in total acceptance of your last name or you're releasing from it, which gives me the feeling that you're having issues in your relationship, and I don't even know if they're married or not, but and they just be like, how do you know this? So there are all kinds of different perceptions and things that I feel and see, and I just have to trust that they're being given to me for a reason.
Uh-huh. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, and usually at the end of our podcast, we talk about the Facebook group and we talk about, when you do the weekly wanderlust and can you come in and comment and let us know what's going on. I know there are a lot of people in this group that have worked with you. So if you have worked with Sam in any way, shape, or form, it would be so cool to share kind of what you've learned or for me, it completely changed. She started with tarot with me, and
Mhm.
then, but the whole thing about talking to people on the other side that have passed over has seriously changed my life. Like it changed my whole perception of everything. So I would be interested personally, and I'm sure other people probably would too, with some of the things that you learned or some of the changes that were made or some of the thing, if any of you feel comfortable sharing any of that, that would be so cool to share with our group.
That's
I mean,
very
I hope you're
good
okay with that,
suggestion.
but
Yeah,
I would be really interested in it. And then there are times when I'll ask questions and Sam will say, "Well, in a reading, this and this happened." She never says, who it is or any of that kind of stuff,
oh, no.
but there are some generalizations that come through sometimes that she shares with me, which is really kind of cool. And so that was one of the things, my
Are you talking
my
about your
big
dad?
yes. Yes. So my dad passed away, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. And I joke with Samantha and I was like, well, what are your people telling you? And I'm talking about like her guides, like what will her guides,
Say about something that we're talking about, yeah.
yeah, whatever. Well, and I don't even remember. Do you remember what we were talking about when that came through? I don't remember what we were talking about.
No, but it was not even
It wasn't really related to him or related to it. I don't even remember what it
something
was,
about
but
just what you were doing and,
yeah.
feeling good about what you were doing or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, and I didn't say, "Well, I wonder what my dad would think of this," or anything like that, but sh whatever question it was, she said,
Your
your
dad's
dad's
here.
here." Yeah, she said, "Your dad's here." And I was like, "What? What do you mean my dad's here? I didn't ask you to find my dad." That was what I was thinking in my mind, like, "Shit, my dad's here. How'd that happen? What happened?
I
What?"
rarely do that with people because that's like a Teresa Caputo thing, like, and
Well, the thing is that there was a message that needed to come through, and you started asking me questions. You were and you said it was different things about him. Oh, I know what it was. We were talking about wingnut. So there are words
that
that
was the word.
yes. So
Yeah,
there are words that Samantha uses sometimes that I've never heard anybody else use
and that
but
I wouldn't
my
normally
dad.
use.
Like, she didn't even know where that came from, like wingnut, and I was like, "Oh my god," my dad used to say that all the time. He would say, like, Lulu birds, like people that were out there and kinda acting, like, off were
Mhm.
wingnuts, and that's so funny that you said that. That's what my dad always said, and that's when she said, He's here."
Yeah.
And then, can you describe what you saw? All I know is that
But
my
we
whole
validated
body
what he
was
looks
like,
like. Yeah.
yes, we validated what he looks like, and then we talked a little bit about Wedge, my husband, and he was saying things about he said he's a really good guy, and I thought we were validating that my dad was a really good guy, and
Mhm.
you said, "No, he's saying that Wedge is a really good guy," and I was like,
Yep.
"Yeah, he is a really good guy." You asked if they looked a little bit alike or something like that, and I said, "No, but their personalities are similar, like, that,
Mhm.
that their values and all that." I think that's what attracted me to him, that he was kinda like the really, really good parts of my dad.
Yeah.
Okay, and then she said, can you describe it? You were talking about the sun and the beaming and the
I
so what she said was, "I see him, and it's kind of like when you walk out in the sunlight and it's not hurting your eyes, but you're feeling the warmth, right?" Isn't that what you
yeah,
said?
yeah, the
Like
love
this
beaming, like
expansive, beaming warmth,
yes.
love kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then she said, he's really, really proud of you. He's really proud of you. And
Yeah,
then
and it was all of that coming forth, and because I'm an empath, like, I get to feel all of it. It's so wonderful, which I also
yeah,
get to feel the bad stuff too.
which is not so wonderful.
No, but this
But
was yeah.
yeah, it was really cool because there were things that had happened before that that I was worried about. Like I was like, I hope I'm not disappointing my dad. I hope I'm not.
But you
I
hadn't
had made
expressed it to me.
promises. No, I hadn't.
Yeah.
And I had made promises about things and they hadn't worked out, even though I tried as hard as I could and stuff like that. And all of that kind of
Mhm.
like weighed on the back of my mind. And as soon as she said that, I could let all of that go. And I felt so I know, really. Well, and it was my whole body was like full of I can't even explain it. Like full of tingles and joyousness and fun and whatever.
Mhm.
And then I started asking other questions like, what are people doing once you pass over? And I guess I was wondering what he's doing. I was wondering what other people that you've reached were doing, but I also was wondering like what will I do? What how's that going to be when
What
I
happens?
yeah, what happens? So then she started telling me some stories about what happened or whatever. And I don't think I ever specifically asked you what he did or what he's doing, but you were telling me about some other people. And then there are times when she does readings and I'll be like, "How was your reading?" And she said it was great. And it just was so wonderful. Some of the just the feeling that I had from the people about their existence on the other side.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. So, okay, so when, and I just have had a few realizations come into place recently to help me kind of understand what it is I'm seeing because there are people who see like I see a myriad of things. It's never this. I mean, well, okay, there is a pattern to it. There are things that I'm piecing together. But when people cross over, there are different things that I get to see. Um, and it's largely directed by what the client wants to know. Sometimes the client wants to know, well, I wasn't able to be there when they crossed over. Were they okay? Was there somebody there for them? Lots of specific things like that. And so I get to tune into that and ask them to show me, and they show me what they were feeling,
Well,
maybe
and
why
so
they slipped.
many of those things are so heavy, weigh so
Yeah.
heavy on us
The guilt of
about
not
people
being
who have
there.
passed away. And it
Yeah.
just gives you that sense of lightness, like, oh, I was so worried about that, but that really wasn't an issue.
Yeah. And a
And
lot of
that's one of
times,
the reasons I wanted to do this podcast because I think people need to hear that and know it and understand it.
yeah, a lot of times loved ones want to slip away while you're not there. They don't want you to see. And it's easier for them to. I had a client once who she was suffering from symptoms from the recent episode we've gone through in 2020, 2021.
Uh-huh.
And it was devastating for her what she was experiencing, and she kept saying, I just want to know I'm not going to die. She kept saying, I just want to know I'm not going to die. And I was like, this is the first time they've shown me this, where there is like this. I know I've heard about there's a cord that we're connected to this cord. Our souls are connected into our body by this cord. And what my guides were showing me is how when she's playing around with this, because we're creator beings, we create our reality. We can leave this life without any major upheaval of opting out, as I like to say. Um, but our desire, we're programmed to try to survive. That's just the whole ideal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd all be going up, done.
Well, and why would we have come here to begin with?
Yeah. So, but they showed me how it's almost like a hook, and she could just so easily every time she was toying around with it, and it was almost like she could easily just go boom, and then have that. I always often describe it with people who've opted out as a lot of them have oh shit moments, like oh shit, did I do that? Did I mean to do
Did I
that?
really
Could
mean
I?
to do that? Yeah.
But generally they're relieved that they did, but it's still that kind of moment. So anyway, I've seen that connection, but so it's harder to release, to have that, when all your loved ones are visiting you, they're around you. But when they do start saying, hey, it's okay, you can leave, we're going to be good. Um, the soul hears that and it's easier for them to unhook and release. So when they cross over, I don't see like tunnels, I don't see stuff like that. Um, but if the person, I see what people direct me to see or what the soul's willing to just show me off the cuff. But I'm like a bloodhound with energy. You tell me what to look at, what you're curious about, because there's so much there,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I see nothing till you direct me. So if someone's interested in what was who greeted them, well, then I can see who was there and I can get the nuances of why certain people were there and others weren't. You
Okay.
know, so it's not necessarily a host of people, or there could be a host of people, but I'm only being shown what is necessary for me to see and relate to that person.
What they need to hear.
hmm
Yeah.
Um, so what's interesting is that um, I'm often shown. I keep being shown like this area when you cross over of it's very lovely. It's very you think about a hometown USA kind of thing where there's row of houses, there's a street, and oftentimes there's a lake. Not always. Sometimes it's a meadow, and then there's more over this way. But I'm always seeing it over on this side, and so that was interesting the first couple of times, and I finally have gone, "Wait a second, now I've seen this a bunch of times, what's going on?" And they've explained that it is a co-creation between me and the person to try to explain where they are, like, so they're giving me something to visually hold on to. Um,
Something
so
that you would recognize, something that you would understand.
yeah, because when someone crosses over, they're now in an energetic state of being. And so they're trying to recreate something that's going to relate to me, but also what they're experiencing. So we're kind of creating it together. So it's very kind of vanilla. But what I see is they're often in a room and I see them, but I might see them at a table. I might see them sitting on a sofa, but that's not until I'm kind of like, okay, where are we? And then the details fill in. Like if I suddenly look up, there's no ceiling until my awareness is up there and they decide if they want to fill, or we, I guess, co-creatively decide. But like there is no outside until they decide to step outside. And then there's the lake, there's the
Uh-huh.
mountains. So and if anybody is visiting with them, it's a co-creation of what's most important to them. For example, and it all depends on what you believed in life because you're creating this the moment you cross over. So, couple of things here. If just right off the bat, if you believed that when you cross over, like you have total freedom and you can create whatever you want, you're going to go immediately into this space with others, that you've connected with that are part of your soul group, part of like this that you've spent lifetimes with or whatever, and you're going to just create this incredible experience. It might take you a little bit, but you'll get into it pretty quickly. If you believed in hell and damnation and you feel guilty and you really believe you did something wrong or bad or whatever, when you cross over, or if you've had a very trying life, like just maybe your body was hurting or something, you will go into this absence of space. Like it's dark. Well, I say dark, but it's just absence of color. It's not light. And it's the space of I just need to be here because I believe, I'm going to be punished or whatever. And you're creating it. This is your own belief system. Um, and so i- no soul's going to come along and go, you can't believe this, this is wrong. They're going to let you create what it is your desire to create. And they'll keep coming in and checking in on you and letting you, like, if you wanted to develop fires of hell around you, you can do whatever, but they're not going to extinguish it. They're not going to come in and try to adjust it. They're going to just sit with you, be with you, maybe share
So there's a guide of some sort,
well, it's
maybe?
not even, it could be a group of people. It could be, who are kind of like Think of it like nursery caregivers, you know?
Okay.
Um, so I haven't it's felt like they're specialty souls. It's not like it's a family member because sometimes a family member could have tweaked you. You know, you're kind of in
Right.
your own space and they're helping you to adjust. And once you realize, oh, I'm doing this to myself. I no longer need to hold this perception. Your perception shifts and now they can really engage with you and say, well, what do you want to do next? And that's when you start moving forward.
Okay.
Okay. So there's this one situation where I was connecting with uh, this person's uncle, I think it was, and I'm like, well, this is interesting. I didn't know what he did in lifetime, but I'm like, he's showing me that he's like at a pulpit, like he's preaching, like guiding these people. I said, I don't feel like he's a minister, but like he's sitting here preaching to this group of people and they've got these their little Bibles out kind of thing. And I'm like, and it's very intense, but everyone here, it's like a group of 15 people. And they're very intense about it. And she started cracking up. And she said, we always said that he'd be ministering to his flock even on the other side. Well, he wasn't a minister, but he was a alderman. That's
Okay.
different, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you haven't gone through all the training, but you're assisting or whatever. And so, these are the people who had been a part of the church and had crossed over. They had all gathered together because they believed in this experience and wanted to continue this experience. So they were sharing in this co-creation. Like I could see this long room, and it was like just like this. He was from a particular religion. I can't remember. And so it was really fascinating. And then I'm like, oh my God, okay, this is interesting what he's showing me now. And she's like, what? And I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is the way it was in life, but he's showing like the men, because I'm asking him what he does, and he's showing how the men are all going fishing at this lake. They're all going fishing, but the women are all staying back in this kitchen area. And it's like the camaraderie is lovely, but they're all prepping food, even though they don't really, you don't need to eat, but it's still, this is what feels comfortable.
Uh-huh.
So they're all in the kitchen, the camaraderie and talking and everything. And the guys have gone fishing. And she's like, oh my God, you're kidding me. Because that's what they used to do. So, like, they're all still acting out because this is what they believe it's all about. And it was like, so they will hold that belief and they will continue until such time their perception, like, it might be that an individual just goes, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore and goes and does something else. Because that's a concept. Their time only exists within the fabric of the third dimension, time and space. The two of them together create this precious experience that we have where we feel that we're aging and moving forward day to day, right? But outside of this three-dimensional construct, there is no time. So I was trying to explain to people when someone's had a harsh life or they've had a debilitating illness, why I can't reach out to them right away. And sometimes it's like they're nursing themselves and stuff and getting back into a better way of feeling, but they're going through an adjustment. And so, I'm like, well, if we give it a couple of months, maybe they'll be doing better, or well, they will eventually do better. Um, and it was a really weird thing to describe that because I'm kind of going, how do I explain this? I'm trying to understand it. And the way my guides explained it to me is that when you cross over, you're holding a perception. I am now this. I am a free being who can do what I want to do. Now I am, so like someone who's had a health issue, I am like in an embryonic state. I am just curled up. And then one day, they have the awareness, I don't need to be this, so I will be something else. So we perceive it as time, but it's simply them shifting their perception of how they want to represent themselves.
Oh,
That's like,
yes. Well, and I know I remember being afraid of death. Like I am no longer afraid. I am like, I mean, I don't wanna, I'm not ready.
yeah.
But when I do, I
Funny how we have to do
know.
that disclaimer. No, I'm saying I'm
I'm
fine. I'm
here,
I'm
I'm
still
here, I'm good, yeah.
yeah.
But I don't have that overwhelming, "Oh my god,"
Mhm.
feeling like I used to.
Well, what's interesting is
Really interesting.
when you're on the other side, like, you're still learning. You're still like, whatever those interests are, you're still creating, developing, still co-creating with other people. This is just a very this is like a petri dish. Like, this is like a science study, or whatever, like rats through a maze, um, with the purpose of us growing at a huge rate, growing in awareness and our like if you took a child and suddenly gave them all the tools and abilities that an adult has, that child would not know how to use it. They would, um, like, if all of a sudden there was a ton of ice cream in front of them, they would eat until they're gluttonous and sick. You
Yeah,
know, it's the same thing with the human race. We are evolving, we're growing, we're learning how to handle greater responsibilities, to wield greater sense of power and understanding. And that love and that compassion, all of that has to develop, all of it has to grow through very harsh experiences, because you can't grow it and understand what it's made of unless there's this contrast that you and I talk about so much.
yeah,
So but on the other side, you are still learning, you're still you still have a process. It's just not like it is here. So
okay.
it's not like you're just in this slumber over there, and then one day you decide, okay, I've gotten a good idea of what I've experienced in this past lifetime. And it's like, coach, put me back in, because I want to do this differently. I want to experience this from another point of view. I want to understand what I put this person through, which is crazy, because, like, you might have put someone through a really harsh experience. But the idea is to understand it from all perspectives, to grow. And if you are an infinite being, think about all our stories about the gods. We always
Yeah,
say how reckless, how inhumane, how insensitive they become. Well, okay, I don't want to say that about souls, because they're living in that space of love. But if you know that your soul goes on forever and that this is just a blip of time, then what's it to you to get in a car wreck and have a divorce and and lose babies, and childbirth and stuff, like, that's going to be harsh, but you also know that it's a play, it's a drama, it's like you'll get out of it alive,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know so it's a whole different, it's like, well, I'm going to be in the soap opera for a bit, and then I'm going to, I'll be done, and then we can all talk about it and laugh about it.
Right.
So it's a whole different kind of concept.
My mind is just blown. I mean, like, even everything that you're saying now,
Did I
I'm
just take you
I'm
to another level?
exactly, exactly. Because bits and we've spoken about bits and pieces along the way,
Mhm,
and I haven't done a mediumship. I haven't had you do an intuitive reading for me
mhm.
officially.
Yeah.
But you've been, bits and pieces or whatever. And so that's why I'm so curious to know, from some of the people that are in the group, what kinds of and we don't need to know all your life or all your whatever. I'm just curious about how it changed your perspective on things
Mhm. Or brought peace to you,
or brought
or
peace to you. Yes.
yeah, because it's, I've had a couple of people come to me who have expressed that during, 2020, 21, they were not able to be with their loved one. And they had to look at them through a mirror, window, or,
Yeah.
you know, and so trying to get closure on that one was very challenging. And being able to share with them, like, there was one instance in which, I mean, there've actually been several instances, really cool, where I've gotten to see, beings that I would describe as angels, you know, um, we got to put a label on it. And so that's what I would perceive around this body, and offering light and comfort as the person is going through the process of releasing from their body. So they weren't alone.
Right.
And you're never alone. We think we're so alone. And even in those moments, I always think about one of those moments that I felt more alone than I ever had. I remember being on the kitchen floor of this villa I was leasing, and I'd felt so exposed, so vulnerable. This is like going through a nasty divorce, and I remember drinking down a lot of vodka, um, and and I keep going back to that moment in time, feeling so exposed and so alone. And my guides have shown me over and over again, their arms were around me. They were touching my back. They were there. I was never alone. And
Uh,
I'm fortunate because I didn't know that at the time. And I guess I needed to go through that process. But now I know it and I can share that with people. I know they were there. You're never
right.
alone.
That's so interesting. All right.
Yes.
I haven't been paying attention to time. Have you?
Oh yeah, we're doing pretty
We're
good.
still
But yeah,
good?
we should it's
Okay.
yeah, I think that
Well,
we could
there's so many more questions I have for you. Like I could ask 27 more questions, but I don't want us to
I
go
think
for
that
3
this is
hours.
gonna be enough of for a lot of people, that
Yeah.
this would be definitely, a good stopping point, and we can share more later. Um, but I think this is a good time to break for our sponsor.
Okay. And now a word from our sponsor.
Yes. So, we can't keep bringing you all these uplifting, insightful tips, tricks, and techniques. Yes, I am reading from my prompter, folks,
That's okay.
on how to navigate your way to a healthier, happier life without the help from our sponsors.
Us. We're sponsoring ourselves. Um,
And we very much want to thank our sponsors. Our sponsors are very good to us. They're very
yes.
kind, and without them,
Yes.
this wouldn't be possible.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, what product are we going to talk about today that our sponsors want to share with our audience?
Okay. We're going to talk about Morvita, which is moringa. And this is a bag of it. And
So it's the Morvita Moringa Daily Supplement.
thank you. And this is what it comes in, a little sachet, which I love the name sachet because I think of it as a packet, but it's a sachet. And it's got powder in it.
Mhm,
And then and I'll tell you what it does in a minute, but I'm gonna also tell you how I like it. And Samantha does it a different way.
mhm,
But I like the buy coconut water. This one happens to have pineapple in it too. I use maybe like about this much of it. And then excuse me, I put my Morvita in and shake it all up and add ice to it and then drink it for the rest of the day. It's really good by itself just with water, but
mhm.
I feel like I'm on a beach when I'm drinking the coconut.
Well, it's fun to have it all kinds of different ways, and we're ever expanding on the ways in which we're utilizing it, trying it, and passing on different ways to enjoy it.
Yes,
So, what does it
definitely.
do for you?
So what it does for me is, well, first of all, I don't eat vegetables. Never ate vegetables. I was the kid that had to sit at the dinner table until 9 o'clock at night because the vegetables were still on my plate. And my mom said, you can't get up until you eat your vegetables. And I didn't care because I didn't like them. I wasn't having them. So I've been missing nutrients for forever. Um, and I've seen along the way people are like, okay, well, I'll get my greens by doing this and this and that. Well, green means vegetable to me, and I'm like, "Ugh, no, because it's going to taste bad. And no, I don't want any parts of it."
Mhm,
So I tried this, and it tastes really good. So that's one of the reasons why it appealed to me.
mhm,
But it makes me feel good. It makes me it curbs my appetite a little bit,
mhm.
and I don't have cravings for sugar and sweet stuff anymore. And I feel like my brain feels good, my body feels good. It has also helped me get rid of inflammation in my body. So for many years, I thought, okay, I'm fat. I'm fat. Got to get rid of the fat. I'm so fat. Um, and I did all the things. We've even done a podcast about all the things to try and lose the weight and the fat and the
Mhm.
whatever. But the biggest thing that I think the Morvita has done for me, and you can see it in my face, is that the inflammation is gone. And in the rest of my body, the inflammation is gone. So those achy joints, my elbows and my knees, don't hurt anymore.
That's amazing.
That's the biggest thing for me.
Well, and that was the first one among the first things that you really began to notice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you feel like it does for you?
I feel like I feel like when I take it, because I take mine in the morning, and when I take mine, I will, oftentimes I'll put it in a protein shake, but before I even started doing that, and I just put it in water and drink it down, I feel like, a block of cement that has, like it's porous, and all of a sudden, all this nutritional is just like getting soaked up into me, and I feel whole and full and light and energized. And it's all just nutrition.
Yeah, definitely. And I described it before, like, when you're dehydrated and you need electrolytes and you drink Gatorade and your
Mm.
body just is like, I need something, give it to me. And then you
Yep.
drink it and you feel so much better. That's the way it is with Morvita for me. My body craves it because I'm not
Exactly.
getting those things from what I eat, what I drink, what other in other areas. So
Well, Diana and I will share, through this wonderful sponsorship we have, we'll share more ideas, tips, and tricks about how we utilize this nutritional supplement to really help us through our days. What we want to let you know is we want to offer you a special offer, but the best way we can do it, because we never know when the podcast is going to be put out, because we switch them around and everything. So we don't want to give you a bad link. Down below, there is a link to a form that if you fill out, it'll send you whenever there's any specials going on and give you particular information that you're most interested in. So please just go and fill out that form. And I just want to, do a big shout out. We couldn't do this without our sponsors and our
no, you're
sponsorship.
good.
So you all thank our sponsors, honor them, consider, using what they have to offer, and we would greatly appreciate it.
Definitely.
All right. So it is time for our weekly wanderlust.
Yes.
Our weekly wanderlust is an integrative process about what we just talked about.
And so it's your homework
Mhm.
or it's your mission should you choose to accept it. And then this one should be really easy, I think, because
Mhm.
I think it's things that you have considered or have been thinking about for a long time and just haven't expressed them.
Exactly. So the idea behind this one is think about what we've just talked about mediumship, about how you perceive things. Think about really go to, well, what happens when we cross over? What happens? What are those? What we're looking for is just write down some of those questions, explore some of those. Just think about, take a moment to have mindfulness about it, because when you have curiosity about it, you're addressing this fear. And fear is false evidence appearing real. Um, as my guides like to say, it is a false projection of the future. And so many of us choose to live in this false projection, which is usually very scary, instead,
Worry.
instead of an exciting false projection.
Yeah.
If you're gonna project something, make it happy, which is where Diana and I like to live more. But it's being in the moment, being mindful, and and really um, feeling out, like based off of what we've talked about. Well, what would I do over there? What would it be like? And you
Or
might
what
have
do
some
I wonder
awareness.
about
Mhm.
what's happening over there? Like, who are your people who have crossed over? And what do you wonder about? What do what are your things that you would love to know the answer to? And there are a couple ways that you can do that.
Mhm.
You can sign up for a reading with Samantha, and she doesn't like me to advertise all this stuff. But again, she's our sponsor. I'm the sponsor. We're sponsors. And you can find her link below. And also, you want to talk about the blog and the
Oh yeah. Well, I'll talk about that at the end.
okay.
Yeah, but you can comment, you can put your questions below. But if you would go to our Facebook group and put your questions in there, then I think what Diana and I will do, if we get enough questions, is we will do another podcast on this and we will address your questions specifically. And I keep saying, wouldn't it be fun to go live in the group and just answer questions and do that? And if there's enough synergy, then yes, we would love to do that, to go live
Yes.
and share this information with you all. But please
Well, and
feel
if you
free.
yeah, I was just gonna say, if you don't feel comfortable sharing your questions, can they do it anonymously in the group?
Yeah, I
Or
think
they
I
can
think
send
there's
us
that.
a question through Messenger. I
Mhm.
just want everybody to feel comfortable about getting the information that they would love to. I mean, some people are really like, all my stuff is out there. I'm all out there. But
Exactly.
some people are not all out there
Yeah,
like
so
I
send it
am.
so send it through and let us know that it's okay for us to anonymously say, "Hey, this person has, here's a question that we received," and we would love to answer them. So this is a fun integration, like to
Yeah.
have the mindfulness on it, and then to go, pose the questions, and then to share it in the group and actually get some feedback on it. So, please, please, please do so.
And we can work that into the podcast with my other 27 questions that I don't feel like we have enough time to answer today. So
Yeah,
we're going to go
yeah.
back to
Part
this because
two,
I think
part
it's such
three.
an interesting, yeah, it's really an interesting topic. And I have never met anyone before I met you that could give me the answers to these inquiring minds want to know type of questions that I've had going on.
It's fun. It's super fun.
Yes. Are
In
we going
fact,
to do
Diana,
sweary
half the time's
affirmation?
going, I don't even know what to ask because
Exactly.
your mind doesn't normally go there. But when the need arises, then you find that yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Are
Sweary
we-
affirmation?
Yes, we're ready for sweary
My little bag of sweary affirmations.
Okay. We love this part. We love our sweary affirmations.
Okay, this one.
I am my own best friend. Other people are total dicks.
Well, but Samantha's not a dick and neither am I, but I am my own best friend. Other people are total dicks.
We all have those days.
We might have dick moments, but we are not all the time dicks.
That one's kind of harsh. I never really thought about it before, but that's where affirmation is like, hmm, I'm not sure I'm totally on board with that one.
Well, I'm on board with the first part of it for sure.
Yeah.
Be your own best friend. Have some positive self-talk. Do you want to pick another one? Because that I don't like that one.
Yeah,
Throw
no.
that thing away.
But what's funny though is that you and I are shifting. Like we're kind of like, yeah, because we love all the sweary stuff.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, somebody sent me so a friend of mine sent me a thing today because they know that I'm going through some challenging stuff. And they sent me the uh from Frozen, when Elsa sings Let It Go.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, it goes, fuck it
Fuck it
all.
up.
And it's just, oh my God, it's such a good rendering of it.
Yeah,
But
that's good.
but as you go through this stuff, like it's kind of like, does it resonate with you? That one
Not
didn't.
that one. I don't think that that one is because although people have dick moments, I don't think people are 100% dick all the time.
Yeah. And they're going through something, or maybe they need to be a dick to you because it prompts you to it gives you a mirror, like, a reflection of how is this affecting me? How do I do this to people? Like
Yeah. Well,
this
and
is how Diana and I roll.
Hicks says, you need to know what you don't want to know what you do want.
Mhm.
So that's that whole mirror thing.
Yeah.
Should we
You know
pick
what?
another one? Pick
No,
another one.
I
No,
think I
you want
want
to keep it?
yeah, I actually want to keep it to like, because we share this in the blog, and I'm going to put a little discussion around it,
Okay, cool.
what we talked about. So I'm going to stick with that one because I think that is interesting. Well, when we make our own cards, they'll be slightly
Yeah,
different.
that's one of and our sponsors are going to help us with that. So,
Yes.
support our sponsors,
Yeah. So
please.
our sponsors can give you even more. Um, all right. So I want to remind you guys that we love doing these weekly podcasts, and that please go and support our sponsors. They mean a lot to us. The links are below. And there's also a link below to the blog, the corresponding blog that we have on kiss.afirewithin.me. And when you go over there, you will see the blog that coordinates with this. It's got the same picture to make it super easy. You can matchy matchy. And in that blog, it's more of a well thought out, well written. It's off the topic of what we're talking about. So if you're one of those people that you love to hear us chat back and forth, great. But if you want to be able to read through and get more nuts and bolts, go to the blog post, read through that. The integration is listed there, as well as any affirmations or any things that we talked about, like movies, videos, whatever, and any products that are available for purchase that we mentioned. So they're all there in that blog. Also, the link below over to the Facebook group. If you're just coming across this, you're not a member of our Facebook group, please join us. It's the KISS Podcast. That's the name of the group on Facebook. And we post there our weekly podcast, and it's an opportunity for group discussion and so forth. And whenever we do any kind of I say me, I do like free, free like journeys, experiences, courses, classes, whatever, they're always announced there first. So you have the opportunity to get involved and share with us, comments from the podcast. Is that everything?
I think that's it.
And it's a bummer because there's a couple of dreams. Okay, wait, couple of dreams. I'm looking at the word. There's a couple of movies that I meant to mention, so I'm going to mention
Okay.
them super quick, and I'll talk to them about them further. But relating to how you co-create, what you perceive on the other side, what it's like when you cross over, there
Uh-huh.
are two movies that I'm going to list in the movies, books. You can read the books as well. Yeah. So I forgot to mention these when we were having our discussion, but they kept flashing in, so I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget them, and then I forgot them. So these are just very helpful because it's kind of like that thing of what it's like to co-create on the other side, and what it's like this space that you go into when you first cross over. And so I'm going to list these as books or audiobooks or movies you can rent. One of them is What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams in it. And that's like this person's perception of hell and how, they've created hell for themselves. And it's a beautiful story, and it's so intense and it's so rich with the potential of what the other side is like. The other one is called Lovely Bones. And Lovely Bones is about a young woman who is, I guess, molested, killed. So it's her soul, how she's trying to deal with all of what's happened to her and what's happening with her family and so forth. And again, it gives you moments where, she's on this side, like around her family, and then on the other side, and, like in this waiting, holding kind of pattern, wondering, trying to find peace is essentially what it is.
Well, and
So,
there's a TV show too, The Good Place. Is that what it's
oh,
called? The Good
okay.
Place?
Little bit different, but yes, it's still, I'll put down The Good Place. It's
Yeah, I mean, it's a stretch, but there are moments and there are, like when you describe it, I think, oh, okay, well, part of it had it kind of like that. I mean, it's more of a comedy type thing, but
But there's a lot of nuggets in there. In fact, maybe sometime we should just do a whole podcast on The Good Place,
okay.
because there
I'll
are
write
a
it down.
lot of nuggets that they touch on, a lot of concepts that I was kind of like, oh man, this is really, really cool. It's but because it is being in that holding space, what happens when you cross over with a tongue-in-cheek kind of perspective, and yet the messages are actually very deep.
Yeah.
So, yes, definitely. I'll put that in there as well.
Okay,
Anything
cool.
else?
I think that's it.
That's it?
That's
Okay.
it.
We've completed another podcast. That's a wrap.
All right. We will see you guys next time.
Bye.